In the late 1970s, miners in South Africa were digging through rock looking for gold. While blasting through the walls, small metal balls started falling out of the stone. They were round, dark, and smooth. The explosions that broke everything around them did nothing to these balls. They came out perfectly every time. The miners collected them and handed them to the scientists. The scientists tested the rock these balls were sitting inside to find out how old it was. It came back at over 3 billion years ago. Not 3 million, it was 3 billion. Dinosaurs came around 230 million years ago. Fish came around 500 million years ago. 3 billion years ago, there was nothing complex on this earth. No animals, no plants, just cooling rock and toxic ocean. These metal balls were sitting inside that rock from that time. Hundreds of them. Nobody has fully explained what they are. These objects are called the Klerksdorp spheres. The mine was run by a company called Wonderstone Limited near a small town called Ottosdal in western South Africa. The rock they were drilling through is called pyrophyllite. It is a soft, grey secondary mineral. It's just rated 3 on the hardness scale. That is softer than a copper coin. Geologists dated it to about 2.8 billion years old. The balls came in 2 types. The first type was solid, a bluish metal color with white flecks scattered across the surface. The second type was hollow, filled with a white spongy material inside. Both types of spheres came out of the same rock. Both types were dark and heavy for their size. The surface was so smooth, it did not feel like anything natural. When workers held them, the balls did not feel like a rock. They felt it was man-made. Word spread through operation. Miners started watching for them as they drilled through new sections. Over several years, hundreds of these balls came out of the walls across different parts of the mine. They all looked basically the same weight, same smoothness, same shape. The balls eventually made their way to Rolf Marx, the curator of Klerksdorp Museum, where some of them were kept. Marx spent a lot of time examining them, and in 1984, he wrote a letter describing what he found. He said, the globes, which have a fibrous structure on the inside with a shell around it, are very hard and cannot be scratched, even by steel. Then he said this, they look man-made. Yet at the time in Earth's history, when they came to rest in this rock, no intelligent life existed. They are nothing like I have ever seen before. These words are not said by some random researcher. These are said by the museum curator himself, the person who handled these objects up close, over years. Now think about what he said about the hardness. The pyrophyllite rock these balls were sitting inside rates a 3 on a Mohs hardness scale. Steel rates between 6.5 and 7.5. And these balls sitting inside rock softer than a copper coin could not be scratched by steel. A natural object forming inside soft rock does not come out harder than the tools used to test it. That is not how it works. Mainstream science had an explanation ready: mineral concretions. The idea is that billions of years ago, this region was covered by a shallow ocean. Iron minerals in the water slowly gathered around the central point in the mud at the bottom, layer by layer. Over millions of years, they built up into round shapes. Then the mud compressed into hard rock over hundreds of millions of years, with the balls locked inside. This is what the geology textbooks say. Most scientists who get asked about these spheres point to this and move on. But a group of researchers decided to actually cut one open. Getting through the shell took real effort. When they finally got through, the inside was hollow. And inside that hollow space was a white powdery substance with no geological explanation for being there. The moment air touched it, the material started breaking apart. Right there in the lab, in front of the researchers, it crumbled to dust on contact with open air. Whatever was packed inside had been seated in there for over 3 billion years. The second the seal broke, it was gone. The hollow type was just one variety. Remember, the other type was solid bluish metal with white flecks. Both types sat inside the same ancient rock. Engineers also checked the balance. They placed the balls in precision equipment and spun them. The weight was spread so evenly. The balls did not even tilt or wobble. Not roughly balanced, precisely. One researcher stated that This level of balance could only come from proper manufacturing equipment, not from minerals randomly gathering in ancient ocean mud. Now, here is the detail that adds something to this story. There is a similar type of object found in Utah, in the United States. They are called Moqui marbles. Harder outer shell, sandy interior. They formed about 2 million years ago. And those are accepted as natural formations. 2 million years is very different from 3 billion years. And Moqui marbles do not have the steel resistant surface or the reactive interior material. But it shows that nature can produce ball shaped objects inside rock. The question with the Klerksdorp spheres is not whether nature can make round things. Nature does that all the time. The question is, what makes these ones specifically so unusual? These spheres were not put into the rock later. They were completely enclosed in solid stone on all sides, with no entry point and no disturbance in surrounding layers. When you insert something into existing rock from the outside, you can see where it went in. There is nothing like that here. The rock formed around these balls. They were already inside when it did, which means they were made by something. That something existed before the rock formed. One more thing. One of these spheres was stolen from the Klerksdorp Museum. Before researchers could run further tests on it, before it could be properly analyzed, it was gone. There is a man named Credo Mutwa. He was born in 1921 in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, and he died in 2020. He was one of the highest levels of traditional healer and keeper of oral knowledge in Zulu culture. He spent his life documenting, preserving, and teaching the oldest stories of the Zulu people. The oldest Zulu stories describe a time long before human history, not hundreds of years ago, not thousands. A time when the earth itself was still being shaped, mountains still forming, oceans still settling. The world was not yet finished. During this time, the legends describe beings called the first creators. Not human, not animal. Beings who came from somewhere else. They worked with metals. They understood the structure of universe. They built things on a scale that no human civilization has ever matched. The stories describe them not as gods in the supernatural sense, not beings who can do magic, but as beings who were simply far more advanced than anything that came after. These same legends also describe something else. These beings mined gold in South Africa. The tradition is specific about this. The beings who arrived came specifically for gold. They needed it. They extracted it from the ground in the same part of the South Africa where the Klerksdorp spheres were found. This is not just a Zulu idea. The Sumerian texts, some of the oldest written records on earth from ancient Mesopotamia, describe advanced beings called the Anunnaki. The Sumerians say these beings came to earth and set up gold mining operations in a region they called Abzu, which ancient astronaut researchers and some mainstream scholars have connected to South Africa. The Sumerians say that Anunnaki created special humans specifically to work in these mines. Two completely separate ancient traditions, one African, one Mesopotamian. Both describe advanced non-human beings mining gold in same part of the world. Mainstream historians say these are mythological stories. There is a reason for that. Most of what these texts describe goes far beyond what conventional archaeology has found evidence for. But then the Zulu tradition adds a specific detail that takes this in a different direction. According to the oldest Zulu legends, documented by Mutwa and others, the first creators knew what was coming, a catastrophe that would completely reshape the surface of the planet. They could not stop it, so they did something. They built small metal objects that are designed from the start to be indestructible. Inside each one, they packed their most important records. Then they pushed these objects deep into the earth. But they also needed whoever found these objects to know immediately that they were not natural, that they were made on purpose, that something intelligent had put them there. So they built a mark into every single one. The legends describe that mark as 3 parallel lines carved around the spears. Every Klerksdorp spear that was found had these 3 lines around them. Same position on every ball, same spacing, going all the way around. Those were not scratches. They were clearly carved on those spears, on hundreds of separate balls from different parts of the mine. The legend says the same thing. This information existed long before any miner could pull one of these balls out. These stories were being passed down through generations of Zulu before anyone knew these objects existed. The official scientific position is still mineral concretions. Some researchers say certain concretions can develop these types of lines under pressure. That has not been ruled out completely. Those three lines on the spears can be seen even today, that is visible on the actual objects. Either this is a coincidence or someone was here before us and they made sure that we would know.